स्वस्तिर्मानुषेभ्यः ऊर्ध्वं जिगातु भेषजम् शन्नो अस्तु द्विपदे शं चतुष्पदे ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। श्री साईश्वराय नमः। हरिः ओम्। अग्नाविष्णु सजोषसेमा वर्धन्तु वाङ्गिरः जुम्नैर्वाजेभिरागतम् वाजश्च मे प्रसवश्च मे प्रयतिश्च मे प्रसितिश्च मे धीतिश्च मे क्रतुश्च मे स्वरश्च मे श्लोकश्च मे श्रावश्च मे श्रुतिश्च मे ज्योतिश्च मे शुभश्च मे प्राणश्च मे पादश्च मे ज्ञानश्च मे सुश्च मे चित्तञ्च माधीतञ्च मे वाक्च मे मनश्च मे चक्षुश्च मे श्रोत्रञ्च मे दक्षश्च मे बलञ्च मवोजश्च मे सखश्च म आयुश्च मे जरा च म आत्मा च मे तनूश्च मे शर्म च मे वर्म च मेऽङ्गानि च मे स्थानि च मे परूगुंसि च मे शरीराणि च मे ज्यैष्ठं च माधिपत्यं च मे मन्युश्च मे भामश्च भेमश्च मे अम्बश्च मे जेमा च मे महिमा च मे वरिमा च मे प्रधिमा च मे वर्ष्मा च मे द्राघुया च मे वृद्धं च मे वृद्धिश्च मे सत्यं च मे श्रद्धा च मे जगच्च मे धनं च मे वशश्च मे त्रिशिश्च मे क्रीडा च मे मोदश्च मे जातं च मे जनिष्यमानं च मे सूक्तं च मे सुकृतं च मे वित्तं च मे वेद्यं च मे भूतं च मे भविष्यच्च मे सुगं च मे सुपदं च रुद्धं च मरुद्धिश्च मे क्लृप्तं च मे क्लुप्तिश्च मे मतिश्च मे सुमतिश्च मे शञ्च मे मयश्च मे प्रियं च मे नुकामश्च मे कामश्च मे सौ मनसश्च मे भद्रं च मे श्रेयश्च मे वस्यश्च मे यशश्च मे भगश्च मे द्रविणं च मे यन्ता च मे धर्ता च मे क्षेमश्च मे धृतिश्च मे विश्वं च मे मखश्च मे संविच्च मे ज्ञात्रं च मे सूश्च मे प्रसूश्च मे सीरं च मे लजश्च मरुतं च मे अमृतं च मे यक्ष्मं च मे नामयच्च मे जीवातुश्च मे दीर्घायुत्वं च मे नमित्रं च मे भयं च मे सुगं च मे शयनं च मे शोषा च मे सुदिनं च मे च मे सुनृता च मे पयश्च मे रसश्च मे घृतं च मे मधु च मे सद्धिश्च मे सपीतिश्च मे कृषिश्च मे वृष्टिश्च मे जैत्रं च औद्भिद्यं च मे रजिश्च मे राजश्च मे पुष्टं च मे पुष्टिश्च मे विभु च मे प्रभु च मे बहु च मे भूयश्च मे पूर्णं च मे पूर्णतरं च मे क्षितिश्च मे कूजवाश्च मेऽन्नं च मे क्षुच्च मे व्रीहयश्च मे यवाकाश्च मे माशाकाश्च मे तिलाकाश्च मे मुद्गाश्च मे खल्वाकाश्च मे गोधूमाकाश्च मे मसुरागाश्च मे प्रियङ्गवश्च मेणवश्च मे श्यामाकागाश्च मे मीवारागाश्च मे अश्मा च मे मृत्तिका च मे गिरयश्च मे पर्वताश्च मे सिकताश्च मे वनस्पतयश्च मे हिरण्यञ्च मे यश्च मे सीसञ्च मे त्रपुश्च मे श्यामञ्च मे रोगञ्च मेऽग्निश्च म आपश्च मे विरुधश्च म ओषधयश्च मे कृष्टपच्यञ्च मे कृष्टपच्यञ्च मे ग्राम्याश्च मे पशव आरण्याश्च यज्ञेन कल्पन्ताम् वित्तञ्च मे वित्तिश्च मे भूतञ्च मे भूतिश्च मे वसु च मे वसतिश्च मे कर्म च मे शक्तिश्च मे अर्धश्च येमश्च मयितिश्च मे गतिश्च मे अग्निश्च मजिन्द्रश्च मे सोमश्च मजिन्द्रश्च मे सविता च मजिन्द्रश्च मे सरस्वती च इन्द्रश्च मे पूषा च मजिन्द्रश्च मे बृहस्पतिश्च इन्द्रश्च मे मित्रश्च मजिन्द्रश्च मे वरुणश्च इन्द्रश्च मे त्वष्टा च मजिन्द्रश्च मे धाता च इन्द्रश्च मे विष्णुश्च मजिन्द्रश्च मेऽश्विनौ च इन्द्रश्च मे विश्वे च मे देवा इन्द्रश्च मे पृथिवी च मगिन्द्रश्च मे अन्तरिक्षञ्च इन्द्रश्च मे द्यौश्च मगिन्द्रश्च मे दिशश्च इन्द्रश्च मे मूर्धा च मगिन्द्रश्च मे प्रजापतिश्च इन्द्रश्च मे ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Let us all be together. Let us all be nourished together. Let us all work together with great vigor. May our studies shine and illumine our intellects. May we not hate each other. Let there be peace, peace, and peace. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hari Om, Shalom, Sai Ram, Namaste. Wishing you all a wonderful, lovely, healthy, happy, peaceful, prosperous, potential New Year. Every second is the birth of a new year. Seconds add up to minutes, minutes to hours, hours to days, days to months, and months to years. Thus, there is no particular sanctity about the beginning or the ending of a year. There are people who attribute special significance to this day and speculate on some extraordinary or awesome events to take place. The time or date is not the cause of your happiness or misery. Your own actions, karma, in the past are the cause of both your happiness and misery. As is the seed, so is the plant and the fruit. They cannot be different. Do not waste your mental energy in speculations of this or that happening. Embodiments of love, when actions performed by you are proper and pure, you will get the good results only. God is the master of time. He transcends time. God should be your first priority. Cultivate pure, steady, and unselfish love in the new year. From the Divine Discourse of Bhagavan Sri Satya Sai Baba on January 1st, 2000. And this is the thought for the day as written in Prashanti Nilayam. So the message of Bhagavan is that we have to basically cultivating the actions here and now, and therefore doing so is the most important purpose of life. The purpose of life is cultivation of actions. What are these actions that we need to cultivate? What does the word cultivate truly mean? Cultivation basically means you're constantly removing something that should not be present at that time, in that space, and in that causation. For the one that is born, there is only one thing that is certain. For the one that is born, there is only one thing that is certain. Nothing else is. And we all know what that is. the most auspicious thing that can ever happen. The most auspicious thing. That is the only thing that is certain. Everything else comes, goes after you are born. There's only one thing that is certain, absolutely certain. So if you know what is certain, this whole cultivation is how do you live towards that one time event that is certain to happen. You're definitely certain it will happen, but you're totally uncertain when it will happen. You're all wondering what happened to all the Chamakam Yajna. What Bhagavan is talking about as the true Yajna is that the Yajna that we are talking about is that cultivating the actions and ensuring that this cultivation is the constant thing that needs to be happening. And Bhagavan says in Gita Vahini very beautifully, every moment of life should be that which cultivates and gets you prepared for that one certain event that is going to happen. But instead, what we are doing is we are continuously trying to postpone those actions that are required to be cultivated, to be prepared for that one definite point of time, and try to think that that is something that we can avoid, postpone, and do something with it. No. For an event in life like a marriage or something that you are getting prepared so much to do it so perfectly, the most important event in life and the only most certain thing in life, what is it that we're doing to cultivate our actions towards that? And this is what is very beautifully described as yajna. Nothing else is yajna. This is what is described as karma yoga and nothing else other than that. The other yajna that we are talking about, preparing with all kinds of homakunda materials, mantras, ritual, all of that kind of yajna is only conducted by those who are completely familiar with that aspect of it, as in the rituals described as in yajna. This yajna that we're talking about is completely accessible to every single thing that is born, including an animal. Please stay with me with this, because this is the most important aspect of what we are studying in Chamakam. Constantly people are asking this Chamakam, how many satsangs that I have had the opportunity to participate. Everyone asks invariably this question. Chamakam is about asking God something. I am such a realized soul. Why should I chant this Chamakam? Because I am so realized I have nothing to ask. No. Chamakam is absolutely about understanding the skills, the capacities, the functionalities, including every thought that is arising, and trying to refine those actions. And this is the yajna for universal peace. The yajna for universal peace, as we may be relating to, is like saying, oh my God, I have to accumulate all this material, all this stuff for doing some kind of a ritual. But truly speaking, the yajna is constantly happening, and it is happening in preparedness for this one beautiful event that is very certain to happen. So much so that when that beautiful event has happened, there is nothing left to come back and to say, Happy New Year, because you are happiness. There is nothing called Happy New Year. For those of you who were fortunate to be able to join a few minutes before this, I was chanting Upadesha Saram. And this is what we are studying on happiness is union with God in the context of the study circle that is going on in Sai centers. At least some of them I know. Now, what is this happiness is union with God, is cultivating every action in the context of this yajna. Are you all with me, Sairam? Please don't listen to me as if I am some kind of a realized soul or nothing like that. I am just one of all of us, and this collectively looking at this thing is yajna. Yes, somebody wants to say something. In Bhagavad Gita, in Karma Yoga, Bhagavan beautifully describes what exactly yajna is and how different aspects arise from this yajna. And Bhagavan Sri Satya Sai Baba summarized all of that into a very beautiful sequel of events that happen. Etti yajnamu, atti manta, etti manto, atti poga, etti pogo, atti meghamu, etti meghamo, atti varshamo, etti varshamo, atti annamu, etti annamu, atti tindi, etti tindo, atti tepu, etti tepu, atti talapu, etti talapu, atti gunamu, etti gunamu, atti silamu, etti silamu, atti sanghamu, etti sanghamu, atti buddhi. Sorry, I had to say it in Telugu. It's a sequel of events starting with so is the yajna, such is the fire, so is the fire, such is the smoke, so is the smoke, such is the cloud, so is the cloud, such is the rain, so is the rain, such is the food, so is the food, such is the burp, so is the burp, such is the thought, so is the thought, such is the action, so are the actions, such are the habits, so are the habits, such is the character, so is the character, such is the society, so is the society, such is the enlightenment. So we are all thinking that all of these spiritual centers and spirituality is for transforming others, and such is the foolishness that we have been bombarded with, that we are all thinking that we are here to transform or to show somebody that we are transformed, or to be having this posture, vesha, that we are transformed. All of that is complete waste of time and energy. The only energy that matters is self transformation. Every action that is being done to cultivate this beautiful presence that would be well prepared to receive the most beautiful event in life called the death. Don't be unhappy with me that I'm starting a Happy New Year satsang with the most important event in life. But just when we look at that and when we are present to that, then we shall truly understand how important this whole thing called yajna is. And this yajna is to cultivate the collective presence within us that constantly is looking at the action, before it even arises. And then we shall understand how many actions, as in just the thoughts arising within us, are they the ones that are cultivating this beautiful thing called yajna. Meaning, yajna, if you were to now transliterate into sacrifice, how many are you able to simply sacrifice? And then once you sacrifice those and you keep on sacrificing those in this cultivation of this yajna with constant vigil towards every one of them, and if we all do that, then collectively, then you actually are present to something that is truly yajna. This is the yajna. Every second there is this something that is movement that is happening, propelled by only this ego self. Vrittayastvaham vrittimasrita vrittayo mano vidyaham manaha. Vrittayastvaham vrittimas aham vrittimasrita. This constant movement that is completely propelled by the ego self, constantly. And the sacrifice that we are talking about is not sacrificing something that belongs to us, but sacrificing actually something that does not belong to us. Idam na mama. This is not me. This is not me. This is not me. Just thinking about that, cultivating that yajna, that is what is called that constant vigil. Constant vigil towards that is called idam dra, indra. 99% of the time, you're paying attention to how the person next to you, including your own husband, wife, child, whoever, friend, neighbor, society, country, governments, everything, constantly you're making a vigil and an attempt to criticize others around you and to watch their faults. Never, ever. It points to itself and then it says, what is happening here? Who is watching this? Idamdra, Indra, Indra. Who is watching this? There is a beautiful parable story that Bhagavan Ramakrishna's parable story of the 10 people. I am not going to go into that story because it's the essence of what we are actually talking about, pointing towards. So this Indra is what we are studying in the 6th Anuvakam. And then last time I went through that beautifully. Couple of sisters sent, doctor sisters put the effort to do the homework and send the systems. And I also summarized that in the notes. Of course, sirs and madams, hopefully somebody is taking the effort to actually review those notes and be present. I hope so. Not These notes are not sent in the context of trying to bombard you with something and some knowledge and all of that kind of stuff. That is the other trap. Constantly falling trap to some meaning that we have created for ourselves, and then whirling within that meaning, thinking that that's the only thing, like a frog in the well, thinking that that is the only. No, that is not the purpose of these notes, or this is not the purpose of this satsang. The purpose of this satsang is not to educate people on what the meaning of Sri Rudram and Chamakam is. If that is the purpose, then it is not called yajna. Gita Yajna means not one fellow sitting and telling the meaning of the entire Gita and the rest of them just listening to him, or and then getting carried away by this is the meaning of the Gita. No, that is not the meaning of the Gita. This is not the meaning of Chamakam. This is not the essence of Chamakam or Rudram. This is not it. These are very simply pointers. Pointers. The actual yajna has to be done by each one of us individually and then collectively. That's why I constantly keep saying we are looking at it together. And when we look at it together from so many different points of view, then you will understand that, oh my God, there is this perspective that I totally missed. And when we get to that, that is the purpose of this Rudram studies that have been going now. I don't even know the count. Every time for this own speaker and the mind, it is a different experience. It's not the same experience repeated over and over. It's not try to replicate the same thing so that we come into a process and a ritual and we forget the purpose of the yajna. Then what will happen? We are constantly doing the same thing like a machine without putting any effort to it. It's like a robot. What's the point of that? It doesn't have its own intelligence, but it is intelligent to replicate something that has been pre-programmed for. We are not robots. We are spiritual beings. And therefore, we have to be constantly in this vigil, and that vigil is nobody is perfect at it. If they are perfect at it, they can tell you what it is to be that is perfect. The fact that I'm speaking is because I'm not perfect at it. The fact that we are having this satsang is that to be able to present and to look at it together in one eye. Bhadram Pashye Ma Akshabhir Yajatrah. This collecting, seeing constantly, looking at it, looking at it, looking at it. This vigil is called Idam Dra, Indra. Now, we were, how pre-programmed we are just to use of the word Indra. And if that word Indra has this profound aspect of seeing something, every time when some meaning is coming to you and you are trying to grasp that meaning, ask that question. It is just a pointer. Am I truly allowing that word to unravel itself? And when we start doing that with not just the word, but just the thought, and then go deeper and deeper and deeper into it. This is the purpose of yajna. This is yajna. This is cultivation of every aspect of ourselves. Then it becomes yajna. And then that cultivation truly, when it is happening to that point of 150 bits per second without distraction from anything else, then we shall understand what is truly bliss, or what we call ananda. Sorry, am I talking to myself?
No, sir, we are involved.
Yes, I know. We are all with you, I know.
Very hard to say on these Zoom calls because people keep coming and going, and I'm the only one talking.
Involve అయిపోయామండి అది.
So when we are in this yajna together, then what we are studying in this Chamakam is that what are all these different aspects of cultivating the skills, the capacities, the materials, the thoughts, the vessels, the fire, and everything else that is part of this yajna. Now, this yajna is what we are actually looking at for what Bhagavan has described in Bhagavad Gita, Karma Yoga, or Bhagavan Sri Satya Sai Baba through this very simple thought for the day that we have just read. And there are so many thoughts per day. Your own actions in the past are the cause of both your happiness and misery. What a profound statement. When we are just looking at that statement, then how are those actions from the past or thoughts from the past are currently taking us away from what we need to be present? When would we have the time for others if you are so consumed in the ego self and in its own microcosm constantly of the me and the mine? When would it have the opportunity? अन्नाद् भवन्ति भूतानि पर्जन्यादन्न संभवः यज्ञाद् भवति पर्जन्यो यज्ञकर्म समुद्भवः कर्म ब्रह्मोद्भवं विद्धि ब्रह्माक्षर समुद्भवम् तस्मात् सर्वगतं ब्रह्म नित्यं यज्ञे प्रतिष्ठितम् एवं प्रवर्तितं चक्रं नानुवर्तयतीह यः अघायुरिन्द्रिया रामो मोघं पार्थ स जीवति. That is the cycle that I just talked about, how Bhagavan has taken from so is the yajna, such is the fire, and every single aspect of our existence in this yajna. And this yajna that is being overseen, and when we are overseeing all the different aspects of even the physical gross faculties that are present within us, and as I have elaborated in that notes that I just sent, fundamentally there are 7 fundamental tissues physically you can relate to, tissues physically you can relate to in yourself. That's all it boils down to, 7 fundamental tissues. Yes, somebody looked at those 7 fundamental tissues are? No, nobody looked at those 7 fundamental tissues.
Shekhar Garu, the one you're describing is from the Ayurveda, 7 of them.
That's it, yeah, the 7, yes.
That is Rasa Rakta Medha Asti Sai Raman.
Yeah.
Sukra and
Yes.
missing the last 2 ones.
Yes, Rasa, Rakta, Mamsa, Medhas, Asti, Majja, Shukra. All of that is the basic substratum of the tissues, or what are called Saptadhatus, the 7 tissues, the 7 aspects physically, grossly present within us that actually forms this, what is called as the Annamaya Kosha, or what we are physically looking at as the plasma, which is the rasa, and what you can even call it whatever, lymph fluids full of T cells, and that is all the medical stuff. The blood, which is the rakta, the muscle, which is the mamsa, the fat, which is the medhas. And what is this fat? The fat is simply about the metabolism related to everything related to metabolism is what is called medhas. Metabolism is medhas. Medha is intellect. Medhas is the metabolism or the fat. Don't get confused about those two things. Bone is the asti. Bone here, asti, tvak, asti. Tvak is also the skin and everything associated with that. Tvak, asti. Then majja, which is the nervous system, the marrow and the nervous system, and the reproductive aspect, which is the shukra. Medically, Western medicine also gives fundamentally, I sent it in the notes, sister has very beautifully summarized those. But if you look at the totality of the tissues, this is the totality of the human gross body. That is now fundamentally all of them are integrated and connected with each other, although there are specialists that only treat one aspect of it. But if you do not know the system, you cannot treat anything associated with the ailments of these 7 fundamental tissues. You can go do the math in whichever way you want. And it is all integrated. And that integrity of what is happening with these systems within us and the harmony and in functionality of those, I already went through those and summarized until we have Mitrascha Mayendrascha me, Varunascha Mayendrascha me. We have studied 8 of those. And the 8 of those, the Agni, which is the fire. And again, all of these 7 tissues that we're talking about are also present outside of us as different demigods or elements or whatever it is. The 8 that we are talking about, the Ashtadik Palakas are the Sapta Dhatus, plus the one who is overseeing them. This is the representation of what are called as the Ashtadik Palakas, the 7 directions, and who is overseeing all of these things. Sorry, the 8 directions. But the 7 are the ones that are fundamental, like I described, and the one overseeing became 8, and therefore you will see that when in Sanatana Dharma, what we're doing is we are worshipping all these as demigods put around the altar, and therefore we are calling this side is this side is Agni, this side is Vayu, this side is this side is Varuna, this side is Isha, this side is Kuber. All these things that we are really talking about, all of that is present within us as the Sapta Dhatus and the one overseeing it. This is the systems biology that we are talking about. I don't want to inundate you with all this technical knowledge or so-called what we call as the Shastras, etc. That's not the point of it. Then you can go do study of those yourselves and connect to those. And then the pleasure and the joy you get out of it is indescribable. Agni, Soma, Savit, then Saraswati, then Pusha, Bruhaspati, Mitra, Varuna. And then there is Tvashta. Tvashta means the one who is overseeing the architecture, the designer, the builder, the sustainer. The designer, the builder, the sustainer. Very simply put, is a guy that draws fundamentally the floor plan, the design, everything completely. And then there is the second one that comes and builds it. And then the third one that is sustaining it. That is Tvashta is the designer, the blueprint, Dhata is the builder, Vishnu is the sustainer. Ashvina is the protector, sustaining it and protecting it. And then in that, now there are movements existing with all these Marut, which are the pranic forces, the vitalities. All of them are described in Arunam. Vasunamadityanagasthane Swatejasa Bhani. All this description of intricate detail of every single aspect or energy associated with those. If you want to study, you should study Arunam. Aruna Prashna, the inquiry into that. Vishvedeva. Vishvedeva are 6 in nature, and the 6 are the 6 tastes in experiences, or 6 different fundamental feelings. Heat, cold, shiver, all these kind of feelings that are expressed within us are the emotions, the 6 fundamental feelings that are associated with 6 rasas, the 6 tastes. Who can tell the 6 tastes on this call, please? What are the 6 fundamental tastes? Americans know only 2. What are the 6 tastes? Any nutritionist on the call?
Sweet, sour.
Yeah, okay.
Bitter.
Yeah, bitter. Okay, sweet, sour, bitter. Yeah.
Salt and
Salt. Yes.
Uvarp and Tuvarp. I don't know in English.
Yeah. English you don't know.
Yeah.
Astringent.
Equivalent word in English, I don't know those 2 tastes.
You only covered 4 so far.
No, there is
Spicy.
Astringent.
Spicy.
Astringent is bitter, Amma. Who is saying icy? Somebody is drinking iced tea now.
Saram, like when you eat bitter nuts, there is one taste will come in the deep throat. It is called Tuvarp.
Karam.
Karam, that is so spicy.
Karam
Spicy.
is, yeah, spicy, pungency. Okay, spicy, not icy. Okay.
నేను spicy అన్నాను.
Yeah,
Spicy.
okay. Okay, we have covered 5 so far. Sweet.
Kashaya.
Huh?
Kashaya.
Kashaya. Kashaya is bitter. Don't use English. If it doesn't matter, is Sanskritam word or English word, they are all, so far I have only 5. And then my brother in Tamil is describing some other taste, which I'm looking for English word for it. Yeah. So the 5 that, first of all, Americans only know 2, I said, no, which is sweet and salt. These are the only 2 tastes Americans know.
Waguru ante I don't know how to say it in English.
You see, that's the same thing is described in Tamil. Somebody will say in Kannada now, English. Okay. So because there are so many people that are also English speaking people don't know these, Telugu or Tamil or even Sanskrit words. Sweet, salt, bitter, pungent, sour are the 5 that we are covered. Yeah, if you know, please. Yes.
Pulip.
Pulipu is sour. Hello. If you say in Tamil or Kannada or Sanskritam, it is we are talking in English. Sour is what is already pulipu covered. I think there is one person at least from Japan on this call who is Artie. Artie, are you on the call today? Artie?
Yes.
Yeah. What is the most important taste for Japanese that you all love?
We say umami, but I don't know the word in English.
That is see, umami is English. Okay, at least umami is what they're describing as wagaru. Umami. And the Japanese tongue loves umami, no? Umami is most important. And the most common ingredient associated with that umami taste is monosodium glutamate that binds to the umami receptors. And these taste perception is caused by these energies called Vishvedeva. Yes, again, what I'm trying to say is we are connecting to the pointers with these words, but the pointers are not in themselves the entire meaning or the experience. Now you see how many people have struggled to describe what that thing called umami is. How many people are saying, I know what it is, but I can't tell what it is. I know what it is. I can't tell what I experience it, but I can't describe it. But the most important thing is experience. The 6 seasons associated with the 6 tastes and the 6 experiences. The outside is the 6 seasons. The inside are the 6 tastes at gross level, 6 experiences at the subtle level. All of them are overseen by one system functionality. Just the context of the taste that we're talking about is an integrated experience that cannot be put into words. How profound it is that you have to describe that which is beyond that experience. Just look at it, brothers and sisters. Just look at it. Vishve chame deva indrascha me. Yes. Now, this is what we are calling as the context of just there are only 6 different receptors for taste. Yeah. 6 receptors for taste. That is what's called the rasa. Then you look at rupa. How many receptors are there for seeing? And this seeing is so different from species to species. The owl sees so beautifully in the night, everything perfectly, and the human eye cannot. Now, you look at the seeing aspect of it. Rupa, rasa, gandha is now aroma. Aroma. And this aroma, trillions of receptors which are present there, they cannot even understand the biology of the perception of the smell and how many different types of smell. There are only 6 taste receptors buds on the human tongue, but how many receptors are present in order to perceive the smell? The subtlest of all of those is the most subtlest of all of these perceptions is Shabda, the sound. And even subtler than that is the silence. Vishvecha me deva indrascha me. The seer. Seeing here is not the context of what we understand as seeing. Understanding is not the same as the context of awareness. They are massively different in the context of presence. Massively different. Knowing something is not the same as the awareness about something. Awareness about something is not the same as the being associated with that, or the consciousness of that awareness. When we are looking at these words and when we are grasping the content of the word in the very, very limited awareness of what you think that is, and just the experience of this satsang in describing what that 6th taste is. Everybody is saying, I know it in my language, but I cannot truly express it. Now, imagine if a feeling of experience of a taste you cannot articulate, how can you articulate that which is actually beyond the perception of the taste? Indrascha me. Are we looking at this? Indra, idam dra. We are looking at this. We are looking at this not grasping the meaning of the word that somebody told you. Because what somebody told you, the meaning of that word is only in the context of the awareness in which that particular mass of people are using it. But that is not the true awareness of that word. You look at a tree and you call it a tree because somebody told you that is a tree, and that is an apple tree, that is a whatever the tree is. But do you actually see a tree without calling it a tree? Can you? And when you, or when we truly are one with the tree. And that is Indra, Idamdra. I'm looking at something without any distortion associated with my knowing about it or some perceptual knowledge that I have created about it, without understanding it, and then propelling it in oneness of awareness. Are you all with me? I'm so sorry. This is so intense. I don't mean to bother you with all of this.
No, it's perfect. We are here. Very, very profound.
And when we are calling this yajna, I do not really mean to transmit. This body is not some guru or a teacher or nothing like that. This body is simply an instrument to look at something. And the power of this instrument to look at something is magnified exponentially in the presence of this satsang. And that's why this satsang is looking at something together. Bhadram pasye ma akshabhir yajatraha. Every word, bhadram pasye. Bhadram means still, secured, complete presence, attention, intensity. Bhadram pasye ma akshabhir yajatra. Yajatrah. Trah means to protect. Yaja means the sacrifice, the yajna. By looking at it together with complete alignment of the satsang and the awareness of these thoughts. This is why it is called a study circle. How we have used that word, abused that word study circle. Study circle is like a yajna, not simply coming together, reading something, and then people are like throwing their thoughts and their quotes and their experience, all of that stuff, without actually intensely putting the effort to look at something. That when we do it, then we are looking at idam dra, indra. Now, Prudhivi, Antariksham, Vyau. Prudhivi, Antariksham, Vyau. The three planes of states of presence, the gross, the subtle, and the one that is above those two. Then Murdha. Murdha is the place from which all of this is flowing down. Murdha means the place above. That's all it means, Murdha. Then Prajapatihi is the ability to now expand and replicate in procreation, is what we are calling as Prajapati. Oh, I'm 7 minutes over time. My apologies, sorry. I just got lost into this seeing. Sorry, my apologies. Let's close with the samastas and 2-3 minutes for anybody who has any comments or questions. Yes, Sama, Gautami, Sairam. Yeah, you are on mute, Kanna. You're on mute.
My question is, when you started the program, you mentioned that misery happens to people because of their past actions and karma. And Swami says you have to be the goal of life is to reach bliss and ananda. So traveling from that misery to bliss is yajna. That's my question.
Not only misery, the so-called pleasures also happen because of pre-programmed actions to any being. So what he's saying in that quote, your own actions in the past are the cause of both your happiness and misery. Both happiness and misery. So the seeds are planted already. Some seeds of mango trees, some seeds of tomato seed, some seeds of kale, all kinds of different seeds are already planted because of the past actions. And they will sprout when the right time comes. But the point of this living is not wasting the mental energy about that, but every action, when it is done in the context of any pre-programmed image or perception, etc., then they are seeds that are fried in the pan and they don't germinate anymore. Sorry, I used completely a gardening metaphor here. What I'm trying to say is, what Swami is saying is, all of this stuff that we are calling as happiness or misery, as he says very beautifully, like a pleasure is an interval between two pains. The point of that, what he's saying in the context of how I understand this quote, when something arises because of the pre-programmed perception, do you act with that in mind, or you say, I am not going to allow my mind to look at that, but only look at this particular in the present? Somebody hurt you when you were this. I don't know if I should go into this, because this is more what should I say, more deeper than what we are looking at these actions. Somebody hurt you when you are a child or whatever, etc. What does that hurt mean? What do you do with it now? And how does that propel into your action from here and now? If you look at that and you say, yeah, somebody hurt me. What is it that is hurt by that person in me? My ego, my image, my perception, my this, my that, or mine. This, they did something to mine, to me and my mine. And then what you do with that? This is what is called now, when you act with that, then you are actually giving more energy to that. What is that feeling of hurt? That is the seed. If you fried that, then it won't sprout again. I'm sorry, I may be blabbering, I may be sounding like blabbering here, but I don't know if I'm answering your question.
No, that frying is yajna. That's what you mean.
Yes, that frying is every action from here and now. Can you not give this energy of the image of the ego self? Then it won't even sprout. And what is that energy you are giving to it in action in the context of ego self is an expectation and a result associated with that action. Then it will have a rebound. It will come back. It has to come back. And because it has been given this energy of the ego self. What if you did not do that? and you only did it in the context of selflessness, then there is no field where the seed will sprout or the seed is already fried. This is the essence of karma yoga that Bhagavan describes in Nashtamanasotkrushta yoginaha krityamasti kim swastitayuta. For that mind which is not propelled by any ego instinct, that action is completely yajna. It is offered in sacrifice.
Thank you.
Sairam.
Sai.
Yes. Anybody else? That was a very deep question. What is that we do as yajna? What is it that we are doing in yajna? That's the question that sister was asking. What is it that we're doing in yajna? Is that putting this, whatever you're put, generally you're putting some seed or something that is now put into the fire. And once it is fried in that fire, it became ash. It will not become that plant again. And what is that fire? And that fire is what we are calling as wisdom. What is that wisdom? That wisdom is basically love. What is that love? That love is not the emotion that we are all understanding as, unfortunately. Love is not an emotion. Happiness or bliss is not an emotion. Pleasure, pain, they are emotion. Happiness or bliss is not an emotion. Why does the emotion come? Because there is some reason or an object associated with it. There is a cause for the emotion, as in pleasure or pain. Whereas for happiness or bliss, there is no emotion or cause or pleasure or some object associated with it. Are we all with this? Don't tell me theoretically this all makes absolute sense. Because sense is an emotion. Sairam, 15 minutes. Sorry. Everybody good? Yeah, be happy anyway. Doesn't matter whether there is a ear or not. Be happy anyway. Thank you, Sairam. Where is Zelimir? Yes.
Here.
Okay, I will put you. Sarah, you are saying Samasta. Yes. Lokaka
Bhavantu Samastaloka Sukhino 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 Bhavantu.
Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Jai Sai Ram.
Jai Sai